Okay, picture this. It's the 23rd of May, 1592. We're at the port of Busan on the south coast of Korea. It's a misty morning, the start of summer. The commander of the Busan garrison, Jeong Bal, heads out to an island in the mouth of the harbor, Deer Island, to spend the day hunting the deer that live there. Sometime in the early afternoon, he emerges from the trees on the far side of the island, and there, to the southeast, he sees a mass of ships. He knows immediately what it is. It's the Japanese. Hideyoshi has been threatening the Koreans for years that he's going to invade Korea and conquer China, and the Koreans have been debating amongst themselves whether he's serious or not. Well, Jeong Bal knows he's serious now. He can see the ships approaching. They're right there. Dozens of ships, soon to be more than 100. He races back across the island, jumps into his boat, and rows frantically back to Busan to raise the alarm. The invasion of Korea is about to begin. Okay, so it's the spring of 1592. We're on the north coast of the Japanese island of Kyushu, near the present-day city of Fukuoka. It's here where Hideyoshi has established his invasion headquarters, his launching point for his planned conquest of Korea and China. His army of 158,800 men is divided into 9 contingents, each under its own daimyo commander. The first 3 contingents, a total of about 52,000 men, will spearhead the invasion. The first contingent, led by Konishi Yukinaga, the second contingent, under Kato Kiyomasa, and the third contingent, under Kuroda Nagamasa. These are all Kyushu men. Hideyoshi's plan is to move these forces first to a forward staging area on the island of Tsushima, halfway between Kyushu and Korea. From here, it's just 60 kilometers on to Busan. Konishi Yukinaga's first contingent will lead the way, take Busan, and secure a beachhead. Kato and Kuroda will then follow with their second and third contingents. The 3 contingents are then to simultaneously march north to Seoul on the 3 main roads leading to the capital: the Central Road, the East Road, and the West Road. These roads, incidentally, they weren't what you would think of as roads. They were hiking trails. They were paths. At best, when they approached towns, they were little more than cart tracks. So that's Hideyoshi's invasion army for the initial thrust into Korea. Now, let's look at the Koreans' defenses. The Korean peninsula was divided into 8 provinces. The ones that concern us now are the 2 southernmost ones, Gyeongsang and Cholla. Now, the threat approaching Korea was a naval armada. So, it was Korea's naval units that concern us most. There were 4 of them in the south: the Gyeongsang Left Navy under Commander Bak Hong, the Gyeongsang Right Navy under Won Gyun, the Cholla Left Navy under Yi Sun-shin, and the Cholla Right Navy under Yi Eok-gi. Okay, so it's May 23rd, 1592. Busan Commander Jeong Bal out hunting on Deer Island. He spots the approaching ships carrying Konishi's first contingent. Hideyoshi has been threatening for several years that he's going to invade Korea, so it's not like the Koreans haven't been warned. But there's still massive confusion. Some in government have been insisting that Hideyoshi's just bluffing, that he'll never do it. And ships do sometimes come from Tsushima for trade and the like, the one link that the Koreans allow with Japan via Tsushima daimyo So Yoshitoshi. But trade ships, they usually come in 2s and 3s, just a handful. Not 50, not 100, not 200. So this approaching armada, this is alarming. This is Hideyoshi's invasion. Jeong Bal knows it, so he races back to Busan to raise the alarm. Now the Japanese at this point are in a vulnerable position. These ships that they've crossed the sea from Tsushima in, these aren't heavy warships. They're lightly built transports, some probably not much more than fishing boats. So the time to strike them is now, while they're still on the water, before the troops aboard can land. The Koreans have the warships to do this. They have heavy paneokson warships armed with cannons that can blast the Japanese out of the water. They have the ability to crush the invasion before it can even begin. It's all up to Bak Hong and his Gyeongsang Left Navy. The area around Busan, this is Bak's home turf. This is the stretch of coastline that he's been assigned to protect. But he doesn't do anything when the Japanese arrive. He watches them from his nearby base. He's hardly able to believe the number of ships that are crowding Busan harbor. 200 ships, then 300, then 400. He sends off frantic messages to Seoul, but he takes no action. Konishi Yukinaga's forces come ashore, unopposed, at dawn the next morning. A portion of them march a few kilometers south to the small fortress at Dadepo, and they easily take it. They then proceed to Busan Fortress, where Jeong Bal is holed up with his garrison. Tsushima daimyo So Yoshitoshi, he's a familiar face to the Koreans. He steps forward and calls on Jeong Bal to surrender. Jeong refuses. So the Japanese attack. The Koreans inside are completely overwhelmed by the muskets that the Japanese are armed with. 8,500 people, including Jeong Bal himself, are killed. Konishi's men then advance to the fortress at Tongne, 10 kilometers inland on the main road to Seoul. They erect a large sign outside the walls, calling on the Koreans to surrender and to spare themselves. The prefect of Tongne, Sang-hyeon, he's in charge inside. He writes his refusal to surrender on a piece of wood and throws it out over the wall to the Japanese. So they attack. For the Koreans, this is the last redoubt in the area, the last line of defense standing between the Japanese and the road leading north. So they fight hard, civilians alongside soldiers, but it's hopeless. When it's all over, the Koreans' total losses have risen to nearly 14,000, compared to maybe 200 Japanese dead. Against the musket, the Koreans don't stand a chance. The Japanese have landed on Korean soil. They now have their beachhead, their launching point for the advance on Seoul. But they're vulnerable. Ahead lies a grueling 450-kilometer march through rugged, mountainous terrain and a local population that could well be hostile. And behind them, the sea route back home to Japan could be easily cut by storms that could blow up and destroy the ships that the Japanese came on, or by the Korean Navy, which has yet to respond. What are Gyeongsang Navy commanders Bak Hong and Won Gyun going to do? That's next.